Here we are at Los Angeles International Airport. Danny Hauger and
Jessica Hauger.
And we're getting ready to depart on our trip to Vancouver, period. You gotta love flying on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It just makes it easier to get around. We got from Orange County to the airport in 50 minutes via shuttle, which was fantastic. And got through security in 10 minutes as we watch a little kid with a Spider-Man backpack ticket over. And we're about to head out in a couple of hours on our way to Vancouver. And we're really looking forward to this trip. We are going to see some of the best sights and the funnest attractions that Vancouver has to offer and really spotlight why I think a lot of people, especially young couples, but all kinds of people can benefit from a trip to what I think is going to be a very beautiful part of the Pacific Northwest. So can't wait to get up there. And until then, we'll just be excited to step down on Canadian soil and visit BC and see what Vancouver has to offer. Until then, we'll talk to you soon. We're here at the Vancouver Aquarium at Stanley Park, and what a morning we've had. We started off in typical Danny and Jess fashion in a way that we don't seem to be able to prevent, and that is by scheduling a half-day bus tour for the wrong day. In fact, scheduling a half-day bus tour before we even arrived in Vancouver, we're staring at some beautiful miniature frogs, and in fact, learning about the jewels of the rainforest, like the mimic poison frog, the three-striped poison frog. And we've just arrived at the aquarium, and just like any good tourist should do when something doesn't go as you scheduled it, or misscheduled it as it might be, taking a backup plan and enjoying another way to get around. In fact, we purchased day passes for the hop-on, hop-off trolley, which is fantastic, getting 34 of the best stops in Vancouver. I highly recommend it. And we're going to enjoy this aquarium, then take a horse-drawn carriage tour around Stanley Park and see the highlights of what is the jewel of Vancouver. So we're very much enjoying it. Danny Hauger and
Jessica Hauger.
You like that delay? That's timing right there. We're enjoying Vancouver and the highlights, and we'll be back with you soon. We've been having a really fantastic time at the Vancouver Aquarium. Some of the large attractions are always the things that draw people, like the sea otters, the beluga whales, and the Pacific Harbor dolphins. And for good reason. They were a lot of fun to watch. They put on great exhibitions of how the trainers interact with the animals, and it's really educational here, period. Another thing that's wonderful is the way they have rescued the animals that are here that wouldn't have been safe or ready to be released to the wild, and they get treated well here. And the aquarium here as a nonprofit organization does a lot to protect the natural sea life, but educate children about the future of conservation. So really a lot of really great things. We are taking a look at the Vancouver Lookout, and what a look it is. Simply breathtaking as you look out on a 360-degree view of the city of Vancouver and the surrounding areas from 550 feet in the air. It's gorgeous. Pick a direction and be amazed by the outlay of this beautiful Pacific city. Marvel at the beauty of British Columbia. If you like panoramic views, then this is the stop for your visit to Vancouver. Stop by the Vancouver Lookout, conveniently located from the hop-on, hop-off buses and from the local TransLink train station. What a view. Definitely post some of the pictures from this trip. Excellent. Gotta stop at the Vancouver Lookout. It's awesome. So we just got back from a walk around downtown, beautiful downtown Vancouver. We got a glimpse into a lot of the things that we definitely want to check out while we're here in Vancouver, like the Vancouver Lookout downtown, all within walking distance of just a beautiful skyline, along with the waterfront area, lots of areas to eat, some fine restaurants, as well as your food courts and shopping mall. Period. I said period at the end of my sentence. We also saw the Vancouver Lookout. Observation deck was closed for a private event today, but we'll be going back there tomorrow. And our big plan tomorrow is to catch the City Highlights bus tour, which is downtown. It picks us up there, so we're going to go down there. But we just got back to the Met Hotel, and it's right next to the Columbia Station. I thought it was going to be a 10-minute walk. Surprised to find it was a 1-minute walk right out of the train station. And arriving here at the Met with a very friendly representative at the front desk who talked to us, gave us a printout of some of the best restaurants in the area, gave us the free Wi-Fi code and our room keys, and we walked up to find a very nice, clean room. We have a queen-size bed, private bathroom, all the amenities we need, a nice TV for our evening watching, and really set us on the right course for our time here in Vancouver. Talked to a very nice lady on the train from the city who gave us some advice and told us some things that she likes to do, including the Capilano Suspension Bridge, which we think we're going to do on Friday. And I'm just kind of planning out. There are so many fun things to do in Vancouver that we're now wishing we had 3 or 4 times as many days. We'll be here for 5 days. We're going to pack it full. We're going to cover all of the exciting adventures. So stay with us right here on Danny Hauger Podcast.
Destination. The parking lot that you see here on our left-hand side was not always a parking lot. It was at one point a pig farm owned by a Chinese family. That was in the 1880s. In the 1890s, there was a smallpox epidemic in the area, and the mayor of Vancouver decided that all squatters were to leave park property at that time. Squatters were mainly farmers and fishermen who had made their homes here. The peninsula became a park in 1888 and was dedicated 1 year later in 1889 by Lord Stanley, the Honourable Governor General of Canada at the time. That is also the same man that gave the name to the coveted Stanley Cup. Down on the right-hand side here is the Royal Vancouver Yacht Club. It's one of the more prestigious yacht clubs in Vancouver. Its members have been winners of notable races, including the Swiftsure race and the Victoria Canal race.
One of the things I'm going to say you really should do when you come to Vancouver, and one of the things that we've had the most fun doing, is just seeing all the different modes of transportation to get around the city and going for it. We just see something like a ferry across False Creek, done. And we just had a really fun time doing that. It doesn't rock at all. It's a quick little ride. It gets you to Granville Island. Now we're looking for maybe some fish and chips or a bread bowl. There's a lot of markets and people and places to get a snack or eat or a neat treat from the area. Hey, and now if you hear that, a little bit of pan flute coming on. How do you lose? Oh, that's a didgeridoo. Awesome. Having a great time in Vancouver. Have you ever wanted to stand in the canopy of the rainforest? Well, the Capilano Suspension Bridge will give you that chance. I'm experiencing it firsthand, and lovers of nature are going to love this place. Simply beautiful views. The Douglas fir trees, tons of photo opportunities, just gorgeous natural areas. Continuing on with the fun and education of the Capilano Suspension Bridge is one of the newer additions to the park, the Cliff Walk, and I'm standing about 200 feet or so above the Capilano River, and I would just love to capture the sound for you, just to enjoy. Just that little bit of sweet white noise in the park. So it's just beautiful here, you know, and you come in the morning, you have enough room to space out from the other people and give yourself a little room with nature, and it's wonderful. Just a beautiful sight. As I pose for a picture, just, you know, makes you think about the corner of the world that you're visiting from, and visiting here and seeing this part of British Columbia and just how big the world is and how many natural wonders there are to enjoy. So just gorgeous here at the Capilano Suspension Bridge Park. capbridge.com. We hear a little bit of a cheer there erupting from the restaurant, and from the announcements going on in the overhead, you can probably think England might have tied the game 1-1 with Italy. But you may have heard the overhead announcement figuring out that we are at the airport waiting to depart back to Los Angeles International Airport. And it is Saturday afternoon. And we're just waiting to get our flight back after our excellent trip to Vancouver, British Columbia. And we had taken time to just reflect on this trip. Jess, didn't we have so much fun?
I had a great time.
We had a really good time. And it was our first trip not only to BC but to Canada. And we really enjoyed it. Highly suggest that anyone thinking about going to Canada on a tourist trip or a vacation or a holiday, as we heard a few times, meeting some friends from Australia, should absolutely encourage you to do that. And we had such a good time. We're just going to summarize some of our visit. And when we mention some of the places we go to, we may be throwing in some live sound that we recorded from the Vancouver Aquarium and some other places, as well as a number of pictures that we'll be putting into video here. But this is Danny Hauger and Jessica Hauger on Danny Hauger Podcast. And just wanted to start talking about some of the places that we went to. First thing we learned, not in the order that we learned it, but of places that we visited. That makes a lot of sense until you hear the rest. The first place we went was to the Capilano Suspension Bridge, which we later learned is the #1 tourist attraction in not just Vancouver, but all of British Columbia. And that was really neat to learn that, because I wasn't aware. Were you, Jess?
No.
And so we went up to Capilano, caught the free shuttle from the downtown waterfront, and this was really our first big thing that we went to see. And it's a bridge it's a footbridge, and you walk across about 300 feet in the air over the Capilano River. And it was just a great place to get views of the trees, listen to the water rushing below in the river, and have just a great time going over what was kind of a shaky bridge, but of course you're completely secure and safe, and it's a really fun thing to do, as well as the new addition of the cliff walk that they have there, which is essentially a series of walkways parallel to a cliffside where you just look down and over the river, and it's just beautiful. Anything that you think about when you think back on that trip?
I just thought it was super fun, and it was neat with the bridge being all rocky. It felt like a ride.
It really was neat and a great natural experience. It's something that anyone going to Vancouver should definitely make time to do. That's the Capilano Suspension Bridge. And when we came back to Canada Place, we went on the Fly Over Canada, which is the new, I kind of say interactive. It's kind of a movie and a moving experience. They'll play on words there. And you sit down, similar to our friends in California will know the California Adventure Soaring over California, which shows you many panoramic and large-scale video flyovers of some of the famous locations nearby. And that was really neat, I thought. What did you think about it?
I thought it was fun. I even liked the water that sprayed on your face when you went through the clouds.
That was really neat. It kind of made you feel like you were in the moment, as well as the wind that they kind of push at you with the fans. So we really enjoyed that as well. It was a good introduction to the city, as well as the tour around the city. We did 2. The first thing we did was the West Coast Sightseeing half-day tour, which our guide, his name was Herman. He was really nice, very informative, went above and beyond what was needed, and gave us a great introductory tour to the highlights of Vancouver, which was fantastic. Really good, and a lot of history that we didn't get in other places. And the next day after that, we also did the trolley hop-on, hop-off, and that was definitely worth doing as well, for getting different histories of the individual districts and parts of Vancouver. You know, aside from that, you'll see more of the photos that we're showing you right now, and if you're watching the video version or just listening to the podcast, it's just so much fun that you can have, especially in the summer months with the outdoor attractions. Everything from the Aquarium, which was fantastic, and you'll hear more about that in the live audio, and the Vancouver Lookout, going up and getting a panoramic viewpoint of all the city. That was really neat. There's just a lot you can do. We did the horse-drawn tours, highly recommend that. And we also went to Stanley Park, of course, the jewel of Vancouver. What did you think of the park?
I thought it was very pretty. I loved all the greenery and seeing all the trees.
And so many trees, and some hundreds and hundreds of years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Huge. That was probably one of the neatest things about Capilano. The suspension bridge tour was our guide telling us about the 3 different main types of trees: the Douglas firs, the western hemlocks, and the cedars. And just getting an introduction, kind of a lesson in nature. That was really fun. And, you know, that just really tips off the things that you can do in Vancouver. There's a good 20 things, 25 attractions, and a lot more in the surrounding area of Greater Vancouver that we just didn't have the days to go and do. It's a wonderful place. The people are extremely friendly. Everyone's glad to point out to you if you need help or directions or information. We had a great time. What was your favorite part, do you think, Jess?
Stanley Park.
It was really pretty. Fresh air, the Seawall extending all around the park for miles. 1,000 acres, right? Stanley Park? Mm-hmm. And making it the largest park, even bigger than New York's Central Park. So tons of stuff to do. And you're going to see a lot more in the pictures in the video as well. You know, if you have questions about things that we did or things you may want to do, you can reach out to us as well. Give us a comment at Danny Hauger Podcast. You can also email dannyhauger@gmail.com if you would like to know more about anything we did and enjoy the photos in the video. And we thank you so much. We hope you will enjoy your trip to Vancouver. Anything else, Jess?
No.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. You've been listening to Danny Hauger Podcast at dannyhauger.com and dannyhauger.podbean.com. Thanks for listening.